All right. Hi, everyone. This is Jana Blunt, the chapter president for the Sonoma County chapter of SEIU 10 to 1. I'm here with buddy Amos Eaton.
Amos Eaton. I am a member of the Sonoma County chapter, and I am the treasurer for SEIU Local 10 to 1.
So that means you're on the executive board.
Yes. And I chair the Budget and Finance Committee, which oversees the local's finances.
You are running as a candidate for our SCERA trustee board.
Yes, I am. So the SCERA board is the organization. SCERA, Sonoma County Employee Retirement Association, is the organization that is entrusted to oversee our retirement funds, and it has a board. There are 2 seats that are elected by the active membership, those of us that are paying dues, and 1 seat that is elected by safety. And I am running for one of the open active seats.
So what type of tasks and responsibilities is a SCERA trustee responsible for?
The board oversees the investments and the investment strategy of the pension fund. Sonoma County's pension fund is about $3 billion. So that's the money that is used not only to pay our current retirees, but is being set aside out of all of our paychecks to pay for our future retirement. Things that they are involved in is making decisions about cost of living and purchasing power increases, disabled worker issues, policy for the organization for SCERA itself. SCERA is a separate organization from the County of Sonoma, closely related.
What most of us know about SCERA is, okay, if we're lucky enough to stay on long enough, we're going to retire someday. And SCERA is who's going to administer that and help us set that up and send us off into the sunset happily. But there's all sorts of issues that are occurring and hot topics happening in this county specifically. And one of them you mentioned is cost of living adjustments, which is something that retirees in our county do not receive for the most part. Is that correct?
Yes. So SCERA has a unique position as what's called the 1937 Act county, and that's the law that created county retirement systems. And with our county, there is no required COLA, which is fairly unusual. Most counties, most organizations have some form of pension. I believe that we actually have the poorest pension formula in the state. So we have no guaranteed COLA. What SCERA does do is they have something that they call a purchasing power adjustment. So if the pension fund is 103% fully funded, and if they have the additional money beyond that to cover the cost of the purchasing power adjustment, they will recommend to the Board of Supervisors that they do what they call this purchasing power adjustment. And they'll take those members, those retired members, whose purchasing power has fallen below 80% of their original purchasing power, back up to 80%. It has happened very infrequently. It is not guaranteed. So think about it like this. If you retire with $1,000 a month, when inflation has eaten that down below the value of $800 a month in the year you retired, SCERA may consider doing an adjustment to bring you back up to $800 worth of purchasing power, provided the stars are fully aligned.
Which, the way that that's designed, those stars, it's almost impossible for them to align.
If you follow the rises and falls of the market across the last 20 years, I don't believe we'll ever see it again, because they're still on paper, SCERA is still on paper recovering from the 2008 crash. Well, the next crash is coming.
Exactly.
And, so there'll be another crash beyond every other crash. I mean, this last expansion was very long by economic standards. It was not very good for workers in the working class, but for Wall Street, it kept going for a long time. But normally you see a crash every 5 to 7 years. So it makes it very hard for the Retirement Association to get to the point where, like, hey, we have enough money to do this. Oh, wait, the market just cratered. We got to smooth that out, and we got to worry about rebuilding our reserves. And on it goes.
And meanwhile, the market is cratering all around us in all of our other comparable counties who do provide their retirees with cost of living adjustments, many of them annually, many of them it's built into the system, and they're financially stable. So it really just sounds like a policy locally that is harming our retirees, current and future.
It is something that Tom Ford and Rod Dole went to Sacramento to lobby for, to get special dispensation in the law around 1937 Act counties to allow this structure. And I believe we're one of only 2 counties that actually use it. The law specifically calls out Sonoma County. When I read Sonoma SCERA guidelines around a cost of a living adjustment, one of their 3 objectives is to minimize contributions from the employer. To me, it seems like, especially with the county, I mean, the county and the courts have a lot of resources. We need to look out for the members. And, we can present this to the county and the county can make a decision for itself. Instead, one of their objectives is to take care of the organizations that have the biggest seat at the table. That said, I don't think that we're going to get a COLA just by getting myself on the SCERA board. We would have a minority voice, some worker representation there that has different concerns, but that all by itself isn't going to make it happen. It's going to take money.
Yes.
It's going to happen at the bargaining tables.
Yes, absolutely.
And, so that's where it's really going to happen. But I think it's important for us to also be able to move the issue at SCERA and have them think about it differently, because they have a group of people on their board that is asking questions.
Yes, and this is not something we've had in the past. We've had 2 recent elections at SCERA that have increased our voice at the Board of Trustees, and getting someone like yourself onto that board would only increase the volume of the voice of the current and retired members, which is really important.
That's my hope. And then there's also another piece of it that I am hoping for. There's something called ESG investing, environmental social governance. It is a socially conscious type of investing. And, you work to create filters and standards that an organization can live with that says, okay, we want to support these kinds of industries and ventures. We don't want to support these.
Right.
SEIU actually has had money in socially conscious investing since 2012, and we have consistently outperformed the market.
Yes.
Not by enormous amounts, but consistently. When the market's up, we do a little bit better. When the market's down, we don't go down quite as far. And I'd like to encourage, and I'd like to use this, this space and with some of the other members of SCERA to say, hey, why aren't we doing more of this? SCERA has always taken a sort of, that's not our mission. We need to approach investing from a neutral, return-focused space. But the studies are consistently showing that this style of investing is successful, is more successful in the market. And there's only, 20 years ago, it was a fringe thing.
Yeah.
Now it is, you know, there's a lot more data and it's consistently there. You know, 10 to 1 did really well last year because we didn't have any money in petroleum. We were already out of big oil.
Mm-hmm.
So when the oil companies took a bath during, you know, when the first shutdowns hit, we weren't there.
The average retirement, at least for the SEIU members, a lot of our members are working entry-level jobs or clerical jobs that I think our average take-home retirement is in the low $20,000 per year. It's a 23 grand a year, something along those lines. Certainly not enough to survive on, at least not in Sonoma County.
Yeah, it's our pensions, the SCIU pensions are, you know, most of our members, they come into service late. They don't make tons of money. They probably don't have 30 or 40 years in when they retire. And so there is that. And there is that where they don't see any kind of cost of living increase. And so that's a real hardship across the long term. But I think that's true for all of our retirees. And I, you know, I do want to speak to that, you know, because I've talked with folks at ESC and, you know, I've been asked questions. Aren't there already 3 SEIU members on the retirement board? And I don't see this as an SEIU thing. I stepped up to do this because I think we need voices at that table that are interested in changing the way things have always been done. And I am interested in seeing all of our retirees benefit. And I'm interested in seeing all of our members, not just SEIU, but everybody at the county do better. SCERA is a financially conservative organization, which in some ways I appreciate. You know, I've got a finance degree. I appreciate that cautious growth in resources, but they also need to do more, I feel like, to look out for their members.
Yeah.
And I feel that's a really important thing. And I think that that's something I can bring to the table.
Absolutely. That leads it to the most obvious question. There's more than one candidate for this trustee slot. And so when it comes to voting for you, what would make you the best candidate? When it comes to experience, when it comes to what your goals are, why would Amos Eaton be the candidate to vote for?
I have a finance degree. I have 15 years with the County of Sonoma. I have been active in SEIU local. I have been the treasurer for the local for 5 years. In that capacity, I have looked after the local's investments. I have helped the local to do its budgeting, to plan its resources. And I have been part of those conversations in good times and bad. As a member of the County of Sonoma, I have helped negotiate our contracts. And so I have bargained on both sides of the table, actually. You know, in 10 to 1, I bargain with the staff of the local. So I've seen it from both sides. I think I have the experience. I think I have a willingness and a desire to help get people the things they need.
Yeah. As someone on our newly formed temporary retirement committee and one of the members on this committee who've already been greatly helped by you, I agree. I really hope that all of our members at SEIU and beyond, that the other organizations vote for you as well, because our voice at that table is growing, and having you on that team with the experience that you have in investment and in finance is going to be huge for us, especially leading up to our next contract negotiations. So I'd hope to think that everyone who sees this, tell everyone you work with, vote for Amos Eaton in the SCERA trustee election. As soon as you get it at home, you're going to want to send it into ROV and get that in as soon as you can, because we're already starting to see a positive difference, and we're already starting to kind of shake things up a little bit at SCERA, and we're only planning on increasing the shaking it up.
The ballots will go out in the mail about March 16th. So you should have them right around that time period. They need to be back at the Registrar of Voters by April 6th. Turn them in as soon as you get them, and I would appreciate your vote. Please feel free to reach out to me if you have questions or concerns.
Absolutely. We'll make sure that your contact info is in the description area.
Thank
All
you,
right.
Jana.
Vote for Amos, everybody.